If anyone ever tells you they don't have any regrets in life, they're one of two things: a liar or selfish. Because if we look back at our history, there's absolutely no question that if we made some sort of different decision, we might have helped other people more. We might have made other people's lives better in some manner. There is none of us who go through life without having a moment where we could have impacted more people in a positive manner. We're never going to make all the right decisions in life, no matter how hard we think about them. Sometimes thinking is what prevents us from doing.
Welcome to the Sock Door Podcast, where life is messy, but we always find meaning in it. Every week, we pull out the stories, the lessons, and the hidden gems. And then we ask the big question, keep it or kick it? If you're ready for real talk, brave steps forward. I'm your host, Lisa Begley, and you're listening to the Sock Door Podcast. Let's jump right in. And we're back. Hey, Sock Drawer listeners, have you ever met someone who absolutely refuses to stay inside one career drawer? Someone who goes from national level athlete, running a minor league team, pivots into filmmaking, producing, directing, and now building a streaming service dedicated to the underdog and the overlooked. Today's guest, Brad Lyon, he has reinvented himself more times than most of us, and somehow each chapter has made the next one even more compelling. From sports arenas to film sets to launching the B Stream, Brad's story, it is a masterclass in grit, creativity, and the courage to bet on the unconventional. So this episode is really for anyone who's been wondering, is it too late to try something new? Brad's entire life says absolutely not. Brad, welcome to the Sock Drawer Podcast family. We're so excited to have you here.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Lisa. It's always exciting to be on a podcast for the first time because you never know what you're going to get hit with. So I am thrilled to be here and ready to take the punch.
Oh, gosh. Well, I hope it's not. Well, we'll see how it goes. Maybe it will be. Your life,
We don't mind ratings.
That's right. That's right. Listen, your life, it kind of reads like a series of bold pivots, right? Athlete, director of a minor league team. I can't wait to dive into that. Filmmaker, producer, and now founder of the B Stream, which I'm so excited to hear more about. So you have reinvented yourself in ways that a lot of people wish they could, or maybe just never get the opportunity to do so. But often they don't really give themselves the permission to even try. So today, let's pull open some drawers, the chapters, the pivots, the creative leaps, and go behind the scenes a little bit where the grit lies, and you can bring it to us. Let's start by just saying, hey, you grew up in Flint, Michigan. That's kind of your origin story, right? You grew up in Flint, Michigan. Let me see if I got this right. Pulled between two worlds, athletics and the arts, which that can always be a kind of a tightrope to walk. And did that dual passion sort of first come into play for you?
Oh, shucks. That's been my entire life. A lot of people won't even realize I was probably an actor way before I was ever a football player or a wrestler. So that combat happened almost every year. Whether it was, do I do drama this year and do I want people to know I'm a drama nerd? Or am I just that jock who's just way too much into sports? That was my case throughout my entire life. As a matter of fact, my entire life has really been about sometimes saying yes almost too many times. Earlier, you had mentioned about the fact that sometimes we don't have the opportunity. And my perspective has always been we create our opportunity. Okay. It's not about, do we have it? Does it come to us? It's no, I'm just going to say, yes, I'm going to go do something. Yeah. You know, the thing about life, when you look at any goal, regardless what it is, becoming an astronaut, a professional athlete, so on and so forth, when you look at these things, they're actually simplistic. Almost every single thing you could want to do has been done before. Someone's done it, and most everyone's gave you a book or some sort of blueprint that you can actually read and know exactly how they did it, so you could do it. You just have to be willing to want to. The reality is, many of us really don't want to put that much work into life, and that's okay. You don't have to. Everyone doesn't have to be the superhero, but if you want to put on the cape, you can. It's your choice.
I love that analogy. If you want to put on the cape, you can. It's your choice. Well, so tell me a little bit about your opportunities. What about your upbringing kind of shaped your ability to pivot between such different paths? Because like we mentioned earlier, it can be a little bit of a tightrope to walk, especially even I remember it back in my day, but also now today, kids today, and as they're younger coming up, it's like, they have to choose between being in the drama club or being on the field. What does that look like?
Well, half the time today, the biggest reason for the choice is simply expense. I'll tell you what, I think most people remember this when we were growing up. You usually didn't have to pay to be in everything in your school. You
So
joined
true.
something. You didn't have to, write a gigantic check to be able to participate. So
Yeah.
I do understand that is a hurdle. But in life, we're going to face obstacles. Everything's going to be a struggle. So if you want to do one of those things and you're determined to do it, you will find a way. And it's okay not to be. It really
Yeah.
is. But
Yeah.
if you want to be, you can put in the work to do all those things.
Brad, I
Now,
love that you give permission, that it's okay to not do it.
well, you have to give yourself permission because it's
Yeah.
scary. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. Everyone knows, especially in today's economy, life's hard, right? So if
Yeah.
it's already hard, why not make it hard doing something you would have loved to have done? It sounds like a better choice because it was hard either way.
It's true. It's true. I love it. I love it. Was there a moment like early in life that hinted, I'm not going to live in just one lane. I'm going to do both.
I think what first started, not to overhinge on the origin story, as you said, but a lot of people will talk about how a lot of people have special benefits. Maybe they came from a wealthy family or that type of thing, so they had an unfair advantage. And I'll admit, I did have one unfair advantage, but it wasn't a pile of money. I had a very loving household. And I had a pair of parents that would have supported me on any choice I made, and they did every choice I made. So I did have a family that was always like, "Hey, if you're gonna go do it, go do it. You can do it."
Yeah.
Like we believe in you. Make the choice, put the effort in. Matter of fact, sometimes I used to give when they were still here, I used to give my parents a little bit of hell every now and then. I'm like, you could have gave me
No.
more discipline. Like you could have been harder and said, no, you gotta win sometimes.
Yeah.
But they were such a blessing throughout not just my early life, even later into my years. I purchased a minor league sports team with my father at one point. When my father was retired and I got into film. He became a production manager. My mother was a production supervisor. My mother didn't even work in sports. She was a former dancer who wound up
Nice.
running half the football team at some point. She would run a lot of our game day operations. She even won a minor league football news female executive of the year award one time.
Oh,
So thank you, Joanne, my mom, Joanne
oh,
Lyon. So yeah, the blessings I had was people who not just said, go do it, but if you want us there, we'll be there. And they were there for the whole route. They helped make movies. They helped me make a studio. They helped make the football team. Even in my scholastic years, they were at every game. you know,
so
if they could have
supportive.
been, they probably would have drove all the way to the colleges I went and played for, or even some of the professional games I was at.
Yeah. All right. So tell me that you're very, very blessed because as we both know that that's not always the case for a lot of folks. So that's a great start, a great foundation. Now share with me if you would. Okay. So let's start in high school. So we're in high school. We're making those choices, sometimes drama, sometimes do I even want people to know I'm in the drama, department kind of a thing.
Well,
What
it was a
happens?
different era. I mean, I'm growing
100%.
up in,
Yeah.
in the 90s. And in the 90s, there truly was a jock table and a drama table and what have you.
Yeah.
There were different groups. I was very lucky to grow up in a community where it wasn't a racial divide.
Yeah.
It wasn't a religious or ethnic aspect. Everyone was together just in their own like niche genre stuff they like to do. So yeah, that created a certain division. I hopped around schools a little bit, and during that time frame, there was a couple schools where I was like, "Wow, this one did a great job of merging and not caring." The one I graduated from, that was definitely one that cared.
Okay. So that's high school.
Yeah.
So when you got through that, when you went different schools, what was the next step? When you coming out of high school, you went to colleges, right? So were you
Well,
recruited how did that all go?
I
Tell me
was
more.
not the number one athlete in the state. I wasn't the top recruit, but I had worked hard enough that, especially towards the senior year and that prior off season, where people started recognizing it. Whether it was in, especially my work in more the international styles of wrestling, freestyle and Greco, that type of thing, and the camps I was attending in football. Because of those things, there were now coaches who were saying, hey, come on out. Did I have to do probably a little more of the leg work than the average guy? Yes, I did. I was playing a dead position. I was a fullback. I wasn't the tallest guy in the world. I wasn't 6'5". So, I remember going on one particular recruitment trip and they're like, we're still interested in you, but we really expected you to be taller. And I'm like, I'm exactly the height I was when he first talked to me. He's like, yeah, we know. We will let you have been like 6'1" by now. I'm like,
Yeah.
sorry.
Expect you to grow 4 inches in 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh my
It,
goodness.
it was unique because it was kind of like my high school life. I played a lot of sports in high school. I was a
Yeah.
4-sport varsity athlete at one point. And in college, it was relatively similar where I think I would have excelled on a higher level if I would have just chose one thing. But because a lot of people were like, hey, you could play on this level, but I don't think you can play on this level. Or I think you could wrestle on this level, but I don't think you could wrestle on that level.
Mm.
Because of those aspects, I was kind of a little annoyed. I'm like, not only can I'll get a scholarship for both,
Yeah.
So I was really animated about doing that, which eventually, I achieved. But that also carried over into my college years where
Mm.
instead of focusing on being great at one thing, I
Yeah.
divided my work, and that did cause me to maybe not excel at the level I would have wanted to, even albeit that a lot of people in my life would have said, hey, you did great. I'm like, but I could have done better.
Yeah. Yeah. And who's to say? I mean, I hear you on that, right? Because I hear this all the time, even just now. You got to gotta commit to one thing. You just got to commit to one thing and stay focused on that. And that's where you're going to put kind of all your. I've never been all eggs in one basket human being, and you don't seem like that either.
And I can give a relatively thorough answer to that. And here
Let's
it
hear
really
it.
is just going to come down to your personal choice. One of two things will happen, and that's it. The greatest in the world at whatever you'd want to be, if you want to be the greatest, they are obsessed.
Yeah.
They're just doing the one thing.
Yeah.
It's why I didn't win a world gold medal. I won a world bronze medal. It's
Yeah.
why I never became an NFL All-Pro, but I have a few All-Star bids in the minor leagues. I was 2005 All-American, but I wasn't a first teamer because I was doing a multitude of things. And here's really the question you have to ask yourself, depending on where you want to go when it comes to that type of choice. Do you want a multitude of experiences? And if you're really good, a multitude of experiences where you can be competitive at everything,
Mm-hmm.
or do you want to be truly great at one thing? And that's it. That's your only option, because you cannot be great without being obsessive and only doing that one thing.
Yeah.
I was phenomenal at a lot of things, but I could not defeat the obsessive ones because it was just simplistic math. It's number of reps. How many times are you going to dribble that basketball up and down the driveway? How many free throws are you going to shoot? The guy who becomes Michael Jordan outworked you.
Yes. So tell me this. How do you make that decision? I mean, looking back, any regrets?
If anyone ever tells you they don't have any regrets in life, they're one of two things: a liar
Yeah.
or selfish. Because if we look back at our history, there's absolutely no question that if we made some sort of different decision, we might have helped other people more. We might have made other people's lives better in some manner. There is none of us who go through life without having a moment where we could have impacted more people in a positive manner. So when I look back, a lot of those things are things I look at. How could I have been, a better son for my parents? How could I have made their life better, made my community even more excited or supportive, made the colleges who believed in me happier for recruiting me, because maybe I could have just played one and been their champion that helped take them to the title they didn't have. There's a lot of times you have to look at that.
Yeah.
And we're never going to make all the right decisions in life, no matter how hard we think about them. Matter of fact, sometimes thinking is what prevents us from doing.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree.
My
I agree.
A lot of people ask me what my highest achievement was, like that one thing where I'm the most proud of in my entire life.
Yeah.
And that answer actually is relatively simple for me too. And they always expect me to tell some story about, I won this bronze medal and I overcame all this because I just wasn't that good in high school. I never won a state title in high school, and yet, I win a international medal and so on and so forth. Or, oh, I wasn't that great at football, but here I am getting a check to play it for a living. It was none of that. The day I felt the most accomplished and was the happiest I'd ever been was on my dad's 61st birthday when I was able to buy him a brand new car for his birthday. And that was what truly made me happy. Now, at that point, my mother had been passed away for about 10 months. She had died in December. Matter of fact, I buried her twice. The second time on Christmas Eve.
I mean, well, finish this story and then I want to hear a little bit about
That's a quick
that.
one. She just
Yeah.
they unburied the wrong plot, so I had to come back on Christmas Eve and bury her again in the right spot. Yeah, a heck of
Wow.
a Christmas. But
Yeah, I would say.
yeah. So you look at life and
Hmm.
you're 10 months later, and I'm able to do this for my father. And I thought back, I'm wondering if there was a couple choices I could have made earlier where I could have done something really big or special for my mother before she had passed.
I'm
I really
sure.
regretted that because I just didn't quite get there, and I could have made singular decisions. I could have focused on one thing, and I could have done those things. My father ironically died 2 days after I bought him that car.
Gosh. So both parents in less than a year.
Oh, yeah. Last of my
Sorry,
family.
Brad. Yeah,
I lost three
sorry.
people that year, and those the last three people who were direct blood relatives.
Oh, gosh, Brad, I'm so sorry to hear that. Now, this may be the question then that kind of you've already answered, but from competing internationally to running a minor league team, you've been in high pressure environments. Now, what was the toughest chapter and how did you push through it? Was it
Mm.
that year when you lost those three folks in your family?
Hmm.
Or would you say you've had some tougher times to push through?
Those were the most painful,
Okay,
absolutely the most painful.
sure.
So most difficult time from an emotional aspect, 100%. The thing about loss, and I do not mean to spin this in a positive manner by any means, but the thing about loss is it does remove responsibility. Every time one more person that you care about that you're trying to take care of is no longer there, you have one less person to have to, provide for or do something for, which I don't like because I prefer to have people to do things for.
Of course, yeah.
But because of it, it does make some decisions in life easier. You don't have to weigh on how this will affect other people. You don't have to weigh on if this choice is the correct choice. Am I going to make their life better or their life worse? So there was aspects that might have made the struggles that I had from there on out that were still very tough a little easier because I didn't have to worry about the repercussions. The only person it could affect was me. And that's a beautiful thing because I don't have to worry about anyone getting hurt by my decisions.
Yeah. Well, and that is a spin on the other side of it. And that's okay. I think that's the best way to maneuver through it because
Yeah, I
grief
think
is challenging no matter how you slice it, you know?
Yeah, if you allow it to completely handcuff you,
Yeah,
you're never going to move on. You
so
have to
true.
find the things that were the benefit. I even say, and this sounds horrible, but I even say I killed my father. I think my dad decided he could go, that it was okay for him to go because when his son was able to buy him a car and he doesn't have to be the guy who buys his son a car, he knew it was okay. He didn't have to be there. And I think that aspect is part of understanding maybe he was okay at that time,
Yeah,
that was in essence his time.
yeah.
And
How long were your parents married?
41 years,
Bless their
before I
hearts.
was born.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
they had a beautiful marriage. I remember my dad taught me very well on how to be a good husband. Towards the end of my mother's life, she really struggled with walking. Even early in my life, she had already lost all the cartilage in her knees from her dance career. And then she really struggled and battled with it, especially when cost of of medical care got so astronomical, where
Yeah,
like she used to require these shots that helped make her get through a week, and these shots
yeah.
wound up becoming so expensive. These shots, when she first started gaining, were a few $100. We were paying a few $100 per week, and towards her later years, they're like $1,200-$1,500 a week,
Oh my
and we
goodness.
really struggled paying for that.
Yeah.
And we had insurance, like that's with insurance. That's how bad
Uh,
our medical system was
uh,
or is. But I remember my dad, just practically every night, he would, my mom would put her feet up on his lap, on his legs, and he'd like massage her feet for like 45 minutes an hour, just trying to make it easier on her. And I was just like, you did good, Dad. You're a good example.
Good example. I love that. Well, what is, aside from the grief, because clearly that's a setback, what is one setback, Brad? What's a
Well,
setback that you feel like really shaped your future?
well, your show is all about kind of those life turns,
Yeah.
those fork in the roads, and I had a couple of those. Some relatively significant. Early on, in the late '00s of 2008, 2009, 2010, um, we owned that sports team that we talked about, and that
Yeah.
team was something we loved and something we succeeded with on certain levels. But when the economy collapsed in 2008, the huge market collapse,
Right.
we went from the largest minor league in the world. We had 126 teams from Canada all the way down to Mexico. And in 1 year's time, we went down to 64 teams. And that prior season, our team had all in-state rivals practically. We had, teams we were driving 45 minutes one way, maybe 2 hours, farthest point. We had one overnight stay, right? That following season, our closest rival was over 7 hours away in Indianapolis. So suddenly every single away game was now two buses, carrying 48 players, another bus of coaches and staff and cheerleaders, uh, and you're now spending so much more on travel. And no one's coming to games as they were the year before. We were one of the league's leaders in attendance. We did a great job, and we didn't even win that much. We only went to the playoffs one time while we owned the team.
Yeah.
But our fans came, and they were strong, and I mean, we did really well with that. But by the time that year came, and the economy had collapsed so hard, people couldn't just afford the tickets all the time. And our tickets were cheap. We had a $10 general admission ticket, but
Yeah.
like you couldn't at that time. It was a tough economy. So we really had to look into reinventing ourselves. We had to do something else. And as film became prevalent and I was not succeeding as a professional athlete, those checks were few and far between. I remember at one point I even got cut in Canada. And if you get cut in Canada playing American football, you probably should put it up. At that point, opportunities that came in my way from film that we made the best of really
Yeah.
helped shape the decision to move into film full time.
Okay. Okay. So you move from sports to film, two pretty intense industries, obviously. Tell me about that transition. What did that look like and how did you feel about it at the time?
Well, I remember I think the biggest sign that this is the way it should be
Yeah.
was when it was literally knocking on my door. I got this call from a gentleman named Jerry Preston. He was the Visitors Bureau president of our city. And he said, "Hey, I've got these three guys that need to meet with you. This Ron Reiner guy who had, won numerous major film awards. You had this Scott Marshall from Happy Days, and a gentleman walking in there that had financed over $1.8 billion in film. And when you see a man who's financed nearly $2 billion in
Yeah.
film, like, oh, okay, I think I might have to help you."
I'll show up. I'll show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had the situation where they had a great cast with Christina Ricci and Matthew Lillard and Ed Margaret, Cedric the Entertainer, Bill Engvall, Marty Kleba, who wound up one of my producing partners, all from this film. But their lead actor, I won't bash the gentleman on air here, but the lead actor had pulled out because of some behind the scenes drama that was going on.
Mm.
And the only actor that they could find last minute to take such a role was 6'7", and let's just say this other actor whose name won't be mentioned only comes up to about here on me, and I'm only 5'11" on a good day in shoes. So this other gentleman is 6'7", named Owen Benjamin, who's not the most beloved person today, but at the time I'll say the version he was then, I'll stick up for. Decent guy at that point. Well, I spent a lot of time with him. Nice guy, funny guy. I think sometimes you just play into being funny too much and you forget what's real and what's not a joke. Owen at 6'7" couldn't play the same character, so they had to rewrite everything and they wanted to do football scenes. So they needed someone to sports coordinate an entire football scene. They wanted him to look like he could be an NFL first round draft pick quarterback. They wanted cheerleaders and football players in a stadium. And needless to say, I'm like, all right, well, we'll get it all together. And
Nice.
they were very kind to me. My team still existed at that time. And I remember when that movie came out, my logo was in like practically every other scene. They had put people in T-shirts wearing it. Some of the main characters wore the T-shirts. Of course, the football players were wearing my jerseys, you know.
Very cool. Yeah.
So yeah, they did pretty well by me in that respect. And I remember there's a couple things I even turned down over there, and I kind of irked me. A funny one was at one point they called me up and they're like, "Hey, you know, you're really broad." I'm like, "Yeah, thank you."
Thank you.
And
Let me
you're
think about it.
athletic. I'm like, I believe that's accurate. Thanks for catching me up. And she's like, yeah, well, what I'm getting at is, you could play Cedric the Entertainer. And now I'm really confused. I'm like, the first few things you said are true. I don't think I look that much like Cedric the Entertainer. I love the guy, huge fan, but I don't know how
Yeah.
you want me to play him in a
Yeah.
film. And she's like, no, we actually want you to be him when he's the knight throughout the movie. So we
Okay.
want you to fight all, you know, play him, be Cedric in all these night scenes. And I remember, I was like, wow, that's something. By the way, also a head taller than this gentleman, but
Kind of
still.
like a stunt double or
Yeah,
like,
well,
yeah.
yeah, basically like a stunt double, but they just
Okay.
want you to play the character in all those scenes,
All
you
right.
know? And I'm like, the one problem, guys, I'm playing football. You know, I'm literally on a bus heading to you know, another state to, you know,
Yeah.
play another team. I couldn't do it. But that was one of those things that just like sat in my head, like, here's an opportunity to have some fun and play this and get a good check. That check's probably more than I'm actually making in football at the time, you know?
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where the door really opened and it made me think like, hey, if we don't continue to find a way to make this work, maybe that is a direction I should go.
Yeah. Well, and were you ever able to go back and sort of get that door? I mean, obviously you were, but how did that happen? Like, take me through that process. So you played football, you passed on that opportunity. You went ahead and played football for how much
Well,
longer
I did, you know,
were
I'd
you doing
already
that?
worked on that All Fair and Love film at that point, which was, you know, a $10 million film with this epic cast. And
Yeah.
at this point, I'd done a number of films. Someone even came to me and said, hey, could you write the script for that minor league football stuff you do? I'm like, yeah,
Awesome.
sure, you know. And at that point, I'd already been a published author. I had a book, and of all things, cheerleading.
Woo!
And yeah, you know, they asked if I could put the script together, and I did. And I sent it over to them, and then they didn't
Very
talk
cool.
to me for months. And so I'm like, man, I must be a terrible writer.
Well, kind of standard though, right? For the industry.
Right. And then I get this
Slow
phone
moving.
call and they're like, hey, do you, there's potentially a union strike. What's your thoughts on like either you come in here and wearing a hat and we'll give you a check for the script and you can say you have absolutely no power, or it's your script. I can get you distribution and own a little percentage of the film and you can self produce it and I'll help you produce it, you know? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm glad to hear you liked it. And he's like, well, I should, you know, after you won that award. I'm like, say what? They're like, well, yeah, you know, you won your best new writers award. And I'm like, wait, how do you know I was in it? Like, you submitted it, not me. Like, I had no idea.
My
No one told me. It's
gosh.
like, suddenly I'm Googling websites. I'm like, I'll be darned. There's my name. I won.
My gosh. That's fantastic.
It's a trip. You'd be surprised in this industry, the number of times a film you've done or something
Yeah.
you're attached to winds up in some competition, whether it's minor or major, and you win this award and you never even know, or never even receive it. I
Nobody
just won
calls
this
you.
best, yeah, I won this best filmmaker award.
Yeah.
It was called the Florida Gem Award, right?
Yeah.
And this was just a year or two ago. Never once ever received the statue thing that they show. Like they give all these cute little, you know, statues, you know,
Yeah.
awards. And I'm like, I wonder what ever happened to that because I didn't get it. But hey, I won.
That is a crazy industry for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think? What would you say has been like your biggest but quietest triumph? Like the win nobody knows about.
I think those biggest triumphs are usually the things that were so hard that we still got done. One of the movies that I sadly say I'm most embarrassed about, which it was an okay movie, but it was not what I set out to do.
Yeah.
We had a different cast by the time we started filming. We had a special effects team that quit on me to go do Teen Wolf the weekend we're supposed to be filming. We had all kinds of horrible things. And mind you, our lead actor who had to step away, he didn't have a choice. He was stuck on Once Upon a Time. He was on a holdover contract. He wanted us to push the dates, but we couldn't afford to. So all these things go wrong. And yet somehow we still, you know, finish the movie and we get it done, we get it released and we premiere it. And it seemed like it was going to be impossible to get done. And if you never worked on a film, It's kind of
Yeah,
crazy to realize how hard it is to get it from stage one to all the way to complete and, sitting there
sure.
in the theater watching it. And I've done a lot of crazy things. Like I started a college sports team once, at MCC, and we
I
got
don't think
that
I had
together.
that on my list.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. I've been a college head coach. I was just a head coach a year or two ago at Florida Gulf Coast University. Um,
How was
I've
that?
done a lot of those things, but I think
Yeah.
really it comes down to just like the things that didn't seem like, man, how are we going to get this done? And somehow we did. Those are the maybe just being here, really what it comes down to, like
Yeah.
still surviving. Because not only did we manage that, even after like the team was going down and we couldn't find a way to save it, that league eventually folded. Like, we found a way to not lose our butts and become homeless, and we'll end up launching a studio that was successful. And then the studio,
So cool.
we built our entire financing model in the state of Michigan based on a film incentive. And that film
Hmm.
incentive pays you money back based on the money you spend in the state you're filming. And what we would do is we would leverage what we're expected to receive from the state. And we would leverage that with a financing company who would buy our, let's say, 30 to 40% back for 20 to 25% up front.
Okay.
So they'd give us that 25%. We'd give them the rights to whatever we get back. And we would use that to leverage making the film. We would get a loan that's the budget of the movie, and we would pay for that loan and pay for the film using the money that we had received for that advance. And that allowed us to keep making movies year out. And then the state capped the film themselves and completely got rid of it. And suddenly we don't have a financing model, and no one wants to finance us in Michigan because now they're like, there's no reason to make a movie in Michigan. You don't have a film incentive.
Yeah.
So we have to close up a studio, and I have to somehow survive again, and totally change the company and change everything. Because we're dead in the water. I tried to shoot one more movie there in that state. And I remember not only was it difficult to even raise the money, but I couldn't even hire Michigan people. I was struggling so bad because everyone who was a serious professional in Michigan abandoned the state. They had to go somewhere else.
Was there an opportunity to move it to a different location or a different state? Or would
Well, I
that have
wound up
been
moving. You
cost
just couldn't
prohibitive?
really, you couldn't really move the studio, you know?
Okay. I
So you just
gotcha.
had to really at that point do what a lot of producers do, and they just go somewhere and make a movie, and they don't have the brick and mortar facility. They don't have the offices. They don't have that. And the drawback of not having some of those things is you were employing people that you see every day, that you're putting a roof over their head. And that was one of the things that hurt because you have real people you're working with full time. And
Yeah.
then when you're relocating out of state and now you're making movie to movie wherever you're going around the country or world, now it's brand new people every movie, you know?
A lot of networking,
Yes, yes.
put it that way. Well, how did your experience with sports leadership, so taking that aspect of it, influence your directing and producing style?
Well,
Like,
truth
how
be
did that all
told,
come together?
in sports in general, but especially coaching sports, is just the best training ground for directing a movie. Because in essence, what you're doing as a director is you're taking a bunch of different people and you're motivating them to get the best performance out of them, and having to figure out how to move those pieces around to achieve a goal that you're teaching everyone, that you're telling, here's our goal, this is our master plan, this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
And literally sports, that's what you're doing. You have a team full of guys. Sometimes you're recruiting more ones, and you're getting these people, and you have to treat them in a different way. You have to motivate them. I've
Yeah.
never found that whole, like, I'm going to coach one way. It doesn't work because you're going to leave certain people out, and you're not going to get the best out of everyone. You're never going
Sure.
to get the best out of everyone, but you have a chance if you really take a look at each person and express to everyone, yes, someone I'm going to be nice to, and some people I'm going to put a boot up their butt, is because I believe that's what you need.
Yeah. I
And I
love it.
might be wrong sometimes. I'm going to go with my gut and what I've learned from 20 some years of doing this, and try and do the best I can. And always remember, I tell my guys this all the time. As a coach, my job's to win. So no matter how it feels personally, like, oh, this coach just doesn't like me or this or that. Like,
Yeah.
look, a coach never cares that much from an individual standpoint to ruin your career because he doesn't like you. No, our job is to win, and we're going to put our pieces in the best place. It's not because I didn't like you a little more, so I've made that guy who can't do the job like you can not start over you. That makes no sense for my career. We're not doing that. Like, only the dumbest coaches in the world do that, and they're probably not the guy who held that job for a lot of years.
For very long. Yeah, that makes sense. Well,
Yeah,
is there,
so it was
you
a
know, that makes sense. And I could totally see that now as you're explaining it and you're kind of walking through it, coaching, moving the pieces and player, training, teaching,
yeah.
moving things around that, I mean, I
All the
don't
script
know.
is a playbook. A
Yeah,
script is literally just a playbook.
that
We're
makes
taking a
sense.
playbook in football, and I'm moving my players around and trying to get the best performance out of them. And then I take a script and I move the cameras and lights around, and I move the people around, and I try and get the best performance out of them by
Yeah.
sometimes treating them nice and sometimes saying, "Hey, I need more out of you."
Brad, I feel a docu-series coming on about this. I think it would be
It's
awesome.
it might be a good time to finally start doing those that help explain some of the stuff,
Yes,
and help
I think people
teach.
would love it, like what does a director do? What does a producer do? Like, what does that look like? Well, you've written and produced films, right? And of course, you've authored books. How does all of that, how do you approach storytelling when you're putting all that together on paper,
All storytelling really
theoretically?
comes down to is
Yeah.
having a simplistic world to share and a simplistic story to share. And the more people you're exposed to, the more people you listen to. And that's really important because if we're just talking, we don't learn. I've never learned a single thing from just hearing me talk because I already knew what was coming out of my mouth. So the more people we're exposed to, the more we can learn how they are, how they see the world. We can hear how they talk and how they feel, and we can put that into those stories. Because if we just use our own voice, that script is never going to be good. No matter how biased and awesome we think we are, it's not our voice for every single character, or we're just going to see ourselves talking to each other in the entire movie. We have to find a way to put these people in. And the best way to do that is from experiencing different people and learning from them.
I love that. Now, how many books have you authored at this point?
Not many, more scripts than books.
Okay.
I'm typically a guy who does screenplays.
Okay.
I'm
What
oddly
what inspires them? When you think about, okay, I'm gonna write this screenplay. What is it that
I
generates that
think every
inspiration?
great film
Yeah.
is a character study in a moment. Whether it's a love story, it's how that person's dealing with herself. Whether it's a superhero movie, it could be a sports movie, it could be action movie, it can even be a horror film. Shaun of the Dead, for instance, if it's character driven, if it's about the relationship and then what's going on around the relationship, you've got potential to have a good movie. Because a lot of people just start with like, I have this great concept. It's never been done before. It's going to be amazing. But there's nothing there to it. It's just, you've got aliens. Awesome. And
Now
cool. They
what?
like peanut butter. Awesome. This is, this is great. But like, who
Yeah.
are the people and what's going on with the
Yeah.
people? And why do they
Yeah.
matter? And why do I care about the people?
Yeah.
And when you learn that, and that really comes down to why do you care about people in general? Because the key to being a good director is caring. If you've never learned to care about other people, you're in the wrong line of work because you have to know how to care about a person to know how to make characters that people are going to care about.
Yeah. Is there a creative project that you've done that felt especially personal to you?
There's a nightmare project I have not successfully. Technically, I completed, but it's not the movie I wanted it to be, and I'll probably go back and redo it 150,000 times. There's a movie called Brock's Diner. Right before my parents were dying, I had actually went to open a diner or a restaurant. It was actually a hot dog place for my parents as like a gift of something to do in their retirement. But they passed away before they were able to do it, and then that got closed down. So that's neither here nor there. But in a script, I built a horror movie because I'm mostly a horror movie guy. But I built a script around that basic story about a person coming back home, who didn't quite succeed. It's actually about an athlete, retelling my own story to a degree, who didn't make it as an NFL superstar,
Yeah.
did okay enough to do some things with his life, is trying to make some decisions and trying to figure things out with his family, and then the family passes on. And in that essence, it was about like carrying on that diner.
Aw.
And what happens in that thing is because his parents die, but they don't have insurance, he has to pay for it. So now the savings he has from being an athlete's gone because he paid for these funerals, which I experienced in my real life because both my parents died young. My mother died out of nowhere. So we didn't have life insurance for her yet. So I paid for that. And then we were going to get life insurance for my dad, and we just didn't get to it because it's only a handful
So
of months later.
quickly. Yeah.
So we just didn't get around to it. So I paid for that, and that impacted me financially to like, my next steps. So that was wrote into the script where, because he had spent the money on the funerals, he didn't have the money to open the restaurant like he wanted. So the only place he could afford to rent was in a rather questionable place, and
Mm.
kind of Gremlins like, where if you don't follow a set of rules, you'll kind of unleash hell. So the whole storyline is about him, deciding to protect and keep this diner. Probably the only thing he actually followed through with on life, purely because this was supposed to be the gift to his family.
Aw. And it
And
just, there was so much heart. Yeah.
I think the problem is when stories are so personal that you care about them more. And so sometimes when you start to do them and think you're doing them nowhere up to the standard you'd want, the movie that you make winds up being something that you can't successfully release on the way you want. And so you're so hard on yourself that you don't quite see it through the way you want. So one of these days I'm going to redo that movie and do it right.
Well, I hope you do. I hope it sounds great. I hope you do. Do you feel like, when you're putting together a more personal story like that, screenplay, do you feel like, does something ever hold you back? Like, so many people talk about imposter syndrome, or just the fear of like putting yourself out there, having to be so vulnerable. Would people even know it's really part of your story? Like, how would that play out?
I mean, the people who are passionate about films and love finding out backstories, I'm sure they'd find out because I'm a very open book.
Yeah.
The beauty of not having, there's a couple advantages to having no one still around. One, you don't have to worry about traveling anywhere you want to be to make a movie, being gone for 6 months or 12 months at a time, because you don't have anyone else who's you're responsible to. And likewise, you can tell your entire story because the story won't hurt anyone. No one else is there. So unless you're worried about your own reputation, which I sure that don't care about,
Good for
I'm
you.
happy to tell people,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Now so the kind of your newest chapter, right? And if I have this wrong, the B stream. Can we talk about it? What sparked the
Please do.
idea? Yeah, let's do it. What sparked the idea for a streaming platform dedicated to B movies, cult classics, and overlooked films?
Well, the films that I've always loved have always been those B movies, rather as the type of Army of Darkness. I think one of my favorite films, tied with Braveheart, is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So I've always loved B movies, and a lot of my work itself really lends itself to the B-esque movie type of film. And when you make those, you come to realize that there's not a big place for them since the industry has changed. There's no more home video. Yes, there's people out there that want to kill me. Look, I understand. I love home video.
Let's not,
own
people.
tons of home video, but all that's left is Walmart, and Walmart's not going to carry them forever. Like there's no Redbox anymore. There's no places to sell it, and that was our key
Blockbuster.
revenue.
Yeah.
For years, you didn't release a movie in the theaters to turn money in the theater. You released a movie in the theater to create more advertising imprints around the country so that you would have more units, more DVDs and Blu-rays, and back in the day, VHS tapes picked up at stores like Best Buy and Target,
Mm-hmm.
So as the world has changed and that revenue is no longer really there, not enough to pay the bills at least, now you have to look at where you can get revenue from, and more B movies no longer find their home. And I am a guy from the 80s who loves his 80s horror films, and they tend to be a little crazier than some of the stuff we do today. And because of that, I want to be able to have a place where people can see movies in an uncensored, fun manner, where
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to have to feel worried about a whole bunch of people complaining about what they make or show or do or what the movies they like. As a filmmaker, I saw a number of my movies get released, and they're released in ways I did not intend for them to be released because the places who got them chopped them up and edited all kinds of stuff, and they're not even the same movie.
Yeah.
I had a filmmaker buddy of mine release one of his recently, and the movie was terrible with the version that places were releasing it, and no one knew because no one knew that that's an edited version. They don't know that places like Tubi or Hulu are editing these movies before they come out. So they think they're worse movies than they are. So that really started motivating me from two levels. One, filmmakers like myself need a place where the real movie can be shown. And two, we need a home where they're not getting rid of them, where companies like Netflix that got started on independent film suddenly don't even worry about those things anymore, which is fine. It's a new model for them. It's their company. But we need a place. And that's what the B Stream was about. It was about giving those movies a place where they're protected, where people can find them, where they'll always have a home. And they're having a home in a way that's uncensored and liberated. And you get to watch them without commercial interruptions. And you even get to join, once you're on the app or on the website, we have a thing we call the Hive on the website. It's just called Community on the apps. But you actually can click on it and you can post and you can interact with people and you can even ask us for movies. Tell us the movies you want and we'll go on, we'll try and get them. And if they're available, you'll see them on the service. And if they're not, we're transparent. We even tell you, we couldn't get this because it's this guy owns it or this company owns it, or we just couldn't afford to make the deal. I mean, heck, some of my favorite movies, I don't even have to go to Clowns from Outer Space on there because I couldn't afford to get that movie yet for the service.
Yeah.
But that's what it's about.
How do you choose what belongs on the B Stream, first of all?
So at some point, we are going to officially develop what we call the certified B, which we have already developed, and we're going to bring that out next year. But before that, it really just comes down to following those elements. You know, it's about simply not being a major blockbuster. We're not home for the movies that have a place everywhere else. We want to be home for the movies that struggle to have a place everywhere else. It doesn't mean they're not potentially were once a big movie. They might have even had a bigger budget. They don't have to be small budget. What they have to do is be the movies that are good and are fun and entertaining, but for whatever reason, perhaps didn't hit right then, or didn't get released in the right way, didn't get marketed the right way, or just established a cult following years later where they're like, oh, wow, why did we not realize this movie was really good?
I love that. Okay, so what's the long-term vision? Like, what do you see it? It's not just indie creators, right? I mean, it's any creator that wants to put together a
major studio films, and we have small films and big films. Eventually, we want it to be the same thing that Netflix does, only for B movies. We want to be able to help other filmmakers create movies. We want to finance filmmakers. We want to create a world where B movies can continue to be made and made on a quality level, and that has a home. So the more subscribers we get, the more opportunities we can do.
Okay, tell me more. Like, how can somebody find B Stream? Where do they get it? Can they put it on their TV on Roku or
every single
tell me all about it.
Interesting fact. A lot of people don't realize it's not one app that winds up on everything. Every single different company has a different app. So we're working on developing different ones. Like Roku has to have its own app that we're working on.
I see.
Like Apple required its own app, Android required its own app, and you can go to your Android stores, you can go to your Google store, you can go to Apple store, and you can just simply search the B Stream. You can go to the website, and it'll show you where, and you can sign up even on the website. Easier to sign up on the website, as a matter of fact.
What's the website? What are we looking for?
The B, just the letter B, not like a flying bee, even though that's a mascot. TheBstream.com.
The B Stream, simple enough, listeners, thebstream.com. Okay. So they can go and watch movies if they sign up on the website. Yes. If you love B movies and smaller screenwriters and producers, this is the place to go. Here's the thing. Since we didn't get to do the drawer dash with Brad, that's okay. But I am going to give you, just based on talking to Brad, a tiny dare for this episode that you can do. I just want to make sure, listening to Brad's story, that each of you give yourself permission to try the thing you've been resisting. Now, how do you do that? Well, let's take the drawer method. All right. It's simple. You first have to decide to. You then have to remove the negative thing that's holding you back. Sometimes that's difficult to figure out, but I know you can do it. So decide you want to do it. Remove the negative that's holding you back. Apply what you already know. Okay. You have so much experience, so much life experience. You have knowledge to make this happen. Okay. And then you just have to wing it. You have to go out there and get it done. Right? Make the mistakes, like we said earlier, right? There is power in failure. So just do it. And then once you do it, take a step back, evaluate it, and then establish your boundaries. And then finally, just rinse and repeat. So decide, remove, right? Apply, wing it, evaluate it, rinse and repeat. If you can follow those 6 steps every day for anything that you've been holding back from doing, literally you guys can do this for, I don't feel like getting out of bed today. I don't feel like getting off the couch. I just want to sit on my phone all day long. I know I don't really shouldn't, but I just want to, or whatever. You can decide not to. Or 2, you can, again, right? Go ahead and remove put your phone down, right? Fling the covers back. Whatever it is. Remove the person out and walk away from the person in your life that's causing the negativity. It can be the smallest little thing or it can be the biggest thing. But this drawer method that I've created just for all of you works for the tiny little things you struggle with doing every day to the big things in life that you want to give yourself permission to do. Somebody asked me once, Lisa, how do you change so many times? How do you pivot? Well, I pivot by using this drawer method. I had to think about it. And that's what made me create the drawer method, was because I had to figure out what are the steps? What's the steps I take? What happens in my brain? What happens in my heart and soul when I decide to, keyword, decide to pivot and do something else? Leave a job, take a job, move across country, do something completely different. Whatever it is, I decide to. I remove the negative. I apply what I know. I wing it because you just got to get out there, take the risk. Then I evaluate it, take a step back, good, bad, otherwise, whatever. Create some boundaries. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to do this. And then I rinse and repeat. And those are the steps I've taken. Here we go. 60-second drawer dash.
Sounds good.
This is just a rapid fire. Quick questions. A film you think everyone should watch at least once?
Super from James Gunn.
I was like, super or what? Yeah. Okay, a super from James Gunn. A B movie that deserves more love.
Thursday the 12th? Ooh, I directed it. That's not fair.
Fair? Absolutely. It should deserve more love. First thing you'd grab during a creative block.
Oh.
Coffee, notebook, long walk. What would you do?
I grab a coffee every single day. I can't use that one. I actually typically try and work remotely when I'm not actually. I've now moved over to our editing suite for those of you who are confused. And in doing so, normally I will, because I work remotely, I travel all around, and you'll find me at some random Starbucks here or some small town coffee shop. So I can't claim the coffee because I'm literally operate off of it. Maybe when I cheat and have a Mountain Dew.
Okay. All right. A sport you still love to watch.
Obviously football, though I can only watch my own Detroit Lions. Obviously, I was born to be a fan because the middle name's Leo and the last name's Lyon.
Makes sense.
Because if I watch other teams, I just start thinking about playing. I came out of retirement and played a season at 40 years old.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Funny story. A girlfriend of mine and we traveled years ago. She's a Detroit. We were living in Lancaster, Pennsylvania at the time. And we got tickets and flew to Detroit and saw the Packers Lions game, which I'm a Packer fan. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry, I guess I should say. But we flew there. She was a Lions fan. I was a Packers fan. Of course, wore our garb and went to Detroit and saw the Lions play. And it was so cool. It was just a great thing to do. We had the best time. So go Lions when it's not the Packers.
I have been able to film before at your stadium in Green Bay.
At Lambeau Field?
Yep. And
You did?
Directly across the street too at that little brewery you have. Brewery Distillery.
Love Green Bay. It's the coolest place. Okay, a mantra you come back to when things get messy.
Persistence can change failure into extraordinary achievement.
Oh, I love that. Persistence can change failure into an extraordinary achievement. I love that.
I had that up on my bulletin board every day of my life growing up.
It's like affirmation. It's like right there. I love that. Like a vision board.
Yeah.
Yes. So good. Something you've changed your mind about in the last, let's say, 5 years.
Politics.
I'm just going to move on from there. One word to describe where you're headed in 2026.
I want to be able to provide more opportunities for for a lot of people that I've had great relationships with. The B stream is growing. I've got to keep pushing it forward, which also means one of the things I have to get back into is the gym, because part of my trade-off at times for putting enough work is giving up something I care about, which adversely affects me. I haven't been back to the gym until I get a certain subscriber count on the B stream. So if you care about my health, well, sign up for the B stream.
Subscribe. I love that. And you can do that on the website, right? Okay. Love it. Okay. So this is our kind of tiny dare, right? We talked about this. This is where our guests, Brad, offer our listeners something small, actionable, doable, where, it's simple, but they can take something away from today that they can do and implement in their own lives to help them continue to move forward. What would you recommend?
If you are listening to this video right now, this podcast, for the sake of self-help, for the sake of being a guide to make a future better decision or a better movement in your life, one of the things I would suggest is this. You're probably fed up with the current path you're on, because that's why you need help. That's why you're looking for it. You want inspiration to make a choice that you don't want to do, because you already know your answer. You know what you want to do. You're just not doing it. So here's my thing. Take a piece of paper. I want you to write down a handful of things you love. I want you to write down 10 things you love. And it doesn't have to be a job or a career or anything. It can be literally anything just you love either doing or eating or traveling. It doesn't matter. It can be a career. It can be anything. I want you to write those 10 things down. Then I want you to circle, okay, with a little pen. I want you to do this by hand. Don't type this up. I want you to actually do it. I want you to circle 5 of those things, okay, that you like the best. Once you pick those 5, I'm making this a lot of work, but this homework's worth it. Trust me. Take those 5 things and put each one on their own little sticky note, on their own little piece of paper, and write a handful of ways people make money associated with that word. And once you got that done, you have 5 things you're passionate about. And you just made a list of ways those 5 things you're passionate about make money. Now just look at that. You could do something you love that you really enjoy, and there are right there in front of you ways you're familiar with in which they make money. Now pick one and start today. Do something little, do something tiny to get you working towards one of those 5. And here's the awesome thing. Even if the thing you do is super tiny, even if it only gets you 1% closer, did you know if you do 101%, you're there?
Perfect. Recap. Write down 10, handwrite 10 things that you love. Circle 5. Put them on a sticky note. Hang them up. Write down ways they can make money, and then pick one.
Yeah, that's simple. Now you have a choice. And it was literally just homework. It's that easy. And this didn't come from me. It came from someone far more successful than me. So a bunch of us, guys like weirdos like me, right? What do we do? Like, where do we go? There's these things called leadership conferences that a lot of people who have been relatively successful, they sign up and they pay stupid money. And we go meet with a bunch of other leaders in their fields, star athletes, what have you. And they like group mentor and they come up with ways and they teach people the different ways that got them to become great. And I take a lot of these things. That's how you become better, is by finding people who succeeded at something you want to do and figuring out how they did it. And don't just go out there and be like, let me figure out the smartest way or quickest way to do what they did. No, you know what? It is okay to work smarter, but you know what's better? Working smarter and harder together.
Yeah.
That's how you
Don't take the easy path. It's not generally the easy path is not the way. I agree with that. And listen, when you guys do this, now, where can they find you, Brad? Are you on social media? Where can people find you?
Typically, you can just search Brad Leo Lyon. If you Google me, Google opens up this whole thing like, hey, this is who Brad Lyon is, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And they'll actually link you to all my social media. But it's typically the real Brad Lyon or Brad Leo Lyon. Normally it has a blue check mark, so you'll know if it's me.
And it's Lions, singular, not lions. I learned that. So listen, when you do this, let us know what you ended up with and your step you're taking. Tag me, tag Brad, and let us know that you're doing it. We'd love to hear it, right? Brad, whew, What an episode. My gosh. Thank you. It has just been a journey for me personally to have you on. Thank you so much. And I'm just appreciative that you joined us today. I hope you can come back and we can talk more because I've really enjoyed it. Your journey is such a powerful reminder that life it's never one lane. It's never one storyline.
But it doesn't have to be as complicated. It really doesn't.
Yes, it doesn't,
Be simple.
right?
You just have to say yes.
So
Just say
yes,
yes.
and your courage to say yes and reinvent from being an athlete to director to founder. I mean, shows us that every chapter counts, even the unexpected ones. Your honesty and creativity is a gift. And we appreciate it. You've done all this with grit, and I'm sure it will stay with our listeners long after this episode. So thank you so much for being with us today. And listeners, remember, I'm here for you. Stay brave, and we'll see you on the next episode. All right, Sockdor family, that's a wrap on today's Drawer Dump. Big thanks to our guests for sharing their story and their heart with us. Until next time. Don't forget, life's too short for mismatched socks. Retire the ones with holes, inspire the ones that still shine. See you soon.